Good afternoon, everyone. We'll talk a little about using Ruby for data science. If any one of you want to get the slides, you can use that QR code. So, anyone here works with data science? Or is a data engineer or use any kind of data in your application? So let's start defining what data science means. What is called today data science in the industry is nothing more than the process of extracting meaning from interpret data, the usage of statistics and machine learning to clean and manipulate data, or any use of a computer to collect, clean, and present data. And it's also a really cool name for the combination of data mining and business intelligence that are other buzzwords that are in the industry for a really long time. But in the past, using those buzzwords, we had really expensive tools to do that, and today we have a lot of free software. So can Ruby do data science? The quick answer is yes, it can do, but let's dive a little into that. Since you can do everything, but the answer to if you should depend on what you really want to do and what you really need. So Ruby has a lot of libraries to implement data science. We have libraries for data manipulation, for statistics, to integrate it with Python for data visualization, and it appears that we have everything that we need, but not everything is as great as it seems. Let's check some of these options in depth. So everybody knows that today the crown jewel of data science is Python. In Python, we have mainly Pandas and Numpy that are the most used libraries and well known for anyone that's doing data science. And in Ruby, we have Daru, that's the same, almost the same as Pandas, and we have nMetrics or nArray that should be similar to NumPy. The problem is that nMetrics that works with Daru, Daru is implemented over nMetrics, gets kind of slow when it's dealing with big chunks of data. nArray is a lot faster, but it's not compatible with Daru. But things are improving, as we'll see in the next slide. Today, there are 3 big projects to work with data science in Ruby. The main one is SciRuby project that has lots of N-matrix-centered gems. It's home for N-matrix, Daru, GNU-plotrb, stat sample, and many other libraries that deal with data science and machine learning. Most of them use N-matrix as the base. Some of the benefits of using SciRuby is that you only need Ruby. There is no dependence for any other language. And matrix supports in-memory sparse matrices. And you can use data frames with Daru. Data frames are the basic data structure to manipulate and visualize living data in data science. It's similar to a 2D table, that data structure, like a SQL table, but everything in memory and a lot faster. Some of the drawbacks of SciRuby is that N-matrix, as I said before, is really slow for large amounts of data. There is a bug for that, but this bug is open in the projects for the last 4 years, and apparently no one is solving that. We also have Ruby NUMO. Ruby NUMO has libraries that are based on NRA, and NRA is a lot faster, but it doesn't have sparse matrices, and there is no data frame support, and it has even less documentation than SciRuby. And let's not forget about Red Data Tools, that has a really great idea that's basing the implementation and the data model in Apache Arrow. That will be the data bus for the next version of Daru and the next version of Pandas. So this is probably the basis for the next version of libraries for data science in Ruby. The big problem is that it doesn't support data manipulation today. It supports only data I/O. The advantage is that you can use it to make an interface between NUMO libraries and SciRuby libraries. So we have other libraries in Ruby also to help with data science. For example, Ruby Spark, that was a really great project, and it was the idea was to use Apache Spark to help implementing parallel data processing, but the project is almost dead for the last 4 years. We have a really cool Kiba project for ETL. Anyone has already implemented a data import project, Kiba can help you a lot with that. If you need to do simple statistics in any array or in enumerable, you can just use the enumerable statistics gem that was created by the same guy that created another library that I will talk later, that's PyCall. And the great iRuby. Anyone that works with data science usually starts playing with the data using Jupyter Notebook, and iRuby is the Ruby kernel for Jupyter Notebook. And the decision tree library is not really data science. It's more like machine learning, but I will have a quick sample for that later. So, doing data science in Ruby is hard because we have almost no documentation. Some of the methods and libraries that make life easier in other platforms are not present. But Ruby is great for creating business and web applications. One big problem in Ruby, as we will see here, not sure if you probably can't see anything that's in this slide. This is a sample Jupyter notebook with 3 operations in Python, just to compare the performance with the same operations in Ruby. There are just 2 operations in the second slide in Ruby because there are no remove duplicates in Pandas. So I couldn't compare the third version. But in the first operation, Pandas, the Numpy is only around 100 times faster than an array. And of course, I'm talking about an operation that in Ruby takes around a tenth of a second, but 100 times faster makes real difference when you are dealing with lots of data. And the second operation, just doing some simple calculation in a Pandas vector, it's not that bad. It's not 100 times slower. The Python version is just 57 times faster. It's not 100 times. So as you can see, it's possible to do data science in Ruby, but the performance is not great because today we have just a bunch of people doing data science in Ruby, and less than that, developers working on these data science projects, causing lack of documentation that causes less people to start working, and most of the data science community today is using Python for that. But Ruby on Rails is great to write business web applications. So we can and we can also do some really good machine learning with Ruby, but let's leave that for another talk some other day. And my objective here is to help Ruby developers to use the best tools for each job so they can solve hard problems with less bugs and have more free time. So 100 times slower is really slow. What's the solution for that? I found a great project called PyCall. And PyCall is a library that do one thing really well. It lets you call Python libraries from your Ruby code as if it was implemented in Ruby. So it will allow you to, for example, write all the data science code you need in Python and call that library, that module that's doing all your Python work in Ruby and read data, send data to the Python library, and create a interface for your business application using Rails. PyCall is composed of binding for libpython.so and has an object-oriented protocol to interface the objects from Ruby to Python. And the code is really simple. I think, yeah, it's big enough to see. For example, you just need to require PyCall /import, include the module, and then you just do PyImport Numpy and use Numpy in your Ruby code without any more problems, like if it was implemented in Ruby, and you have the same performance that you have with the native Python implementation because it's running in Python. You can call methods of the Python library exactly like you were calling anything in Ruby, and this opens a lot of doors for integration. And we have some really easy to do also machine learning. This slide is just to present the decision tree library that I thought was really easy to use, and that can help a lot of solve a lot of problems. For example, in this sample, it's using matrix of sample data with age, scholarity, pay grade, and marital status. And the last number, 1 or 0, means that it's already a client or not a client or the company. We use that data to train the decision tree, and then we have some tests for it, passing the same data that we had there, the age group, scholarity, pay grade, and marital status, to identify if that person is a target client of the company or not. One problem with this library, with this simple implementation at least, is that it's using strings to compare the age, and you need to pass the same string in the sample data. For example, you can't pass 10 to be less than 18 because it's using the string less than 18, so you need to have an exact match. And I'm probably going a lot faster than I should be. Okay, so since let's go back here. Oh yeah, so this same guy that implemented this PyCall library implemented also some wrapper libraries for Pandas and Numpy. If you decide that you just need to use that library. And let me check one thing here. Just a quick online sample, 1 minute. Let me open Jupyter Notebook here. Okay, here, working. Here, this is a Jupyter Notebook with Ruby code running. And this data science, I will not use that. It's really small. Okay, now it's possible to read. This is a Jupyter Notebook that's running Ruby code. And besides from data science here, it can do lots of Ruby training, documentation, but it's not really good to do this. Yeah. Need to duplicate the screen. Let's go back to the slides and use the recorded version. So sorry for that. So what's the best work pattern for data science in Ruby today? Python today is way better than Ruby for data science, but Ruby is way better for web applications, and the best patterns for integration, that's what I'm using today, is I have the same database for both my web application, my business application, and the data science application. The data science portion is implemented in Ruby, in Python, and have a front end using Rails to expose the API and using the same active record models as the web application. And I use PyCall to implement the call of the data science portion of the application. I tried exchanging data through JSON, but that's a lot slower than just using the same active record, and that's what I'm using today. This is one of the most important slides in this call today, in this presentation today. The first talk from Kenta Murata was presented in the RubyConf 2017 and is created by the same guy that implemented PyCall and all other libraries that I mentioned today. There is a really great talk on YouTube also from Dan Carpenter. And the only source of documentation for the Ruby Numo project that I could find is this presentation from the guy that created the project. And we also have here pointers to SciRuby, Ruby Numo, and great page with Ruby machine learning and data science resources. And I just finished with a lot of time. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please let me know later. Thank you.